before I really had like a big collection. And then of course, like you said earlier, I had like Paramyxo come in and
Yeah.
wipe out pretty much the whole thing, and I started over.
Can you kind of I mean, I have an idea, but for people who are watching and wondering what's Paramyxo, do you mind explaining what Paramyxo is?
It's a virus, and it spreads in the air and by touch. So like literally, you hook a snake that's got Paramyxo, and then you hook another snake with it. Okay, that one's got it, and they're dead within. I mean, in 1 month, I probably lost easy 20 snakes.
Oh my
It
lord.
affects vipers more than elapids. So like the baboons, the rhinos, the puffs, the rattlesnakes, all that
Was it
was the first thing to kick it.
wasn't it a gaboon that brought it in too, or what brought it in? I can't remember.
It was a pair of puff adders and some boom slangs that I got in.
Damn.
And honestly, the male puff adder, I still have him. He survived the whole thing. Literally killed everything in the tank with him. He obviously was a carrier, but it didn't affect him. I
Huh.
still got him. He survived the whole thing, but it killed 90% of the rest of my collection.
That is wild, bro.
Yeah, and I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I would just walk in there and something else would be dead. And so I was just trying to bleach everything I could. And I hit up Michael Vesio, and he kind of was like, dude, that's probably a Paramyxo. He's like, man, if they even look at you sideways, just freeze them. Killed my taipans and all
Damn.
kind of stuff.
Damn. That's a bummer, bro. That's kind of the shit that you don't really hear from that people want to speak about, which I give respect about, but still, man, it's just like I'm sure that was probably surreal to you, right? I mean, that was probably the biggest blow you've ever taken in your
Oh,
reptile
absolutely.
career, right? Right.
What's interesting is, and me and my venomous buddies always talk about it. When you keep venomous, I don't know why, but like mites aren't a thing. I've never had mites in the venomous collection.
Hmm.
I worked at a shop where I took care of like 200 different reptiles, and it would get mites all the time.
Right.
Because they're bringing in live feeders, and generally mites come from your live rats and mice. But I've never, knock on wood, I've never had mites in a venomous collection. So I was like, they're just kind of tougher. You're pretty good. And then boom, I got that virus, and it was like, oh, no, never mind. They're not all that tough. They're perfectly susceptible to diseases and parasites and respiratory infections. Whatever. But yeah,
And
I don't know what it is, but mites, I never had them. But
now, and this is just your assumption is what happened. It's not for sure, right? Like you didn't get tests or anything like that, no? Or like this is
no,
what?
I sent in a I think it was a Mamba or something. I sent in to a local place to get tested, but of course, the place in Emerald, Texas, they have no idea what they're looking for. They did basically just a basic dissected it and sent in some labs, but they couldn't find anything. But talking to Michael Vesio and then Paul Miller, they were like, "It's Paramyxo, dude," because the Vipers kicked it immediately.
Right. Right.
And it affects the Vipers more than it does the Elapids. So kind of classic case of Paramyxo.
So now the fact that the male that survived it, is he still up in the mix with everyone else, or is he like, where do you have that male at?
I kept him away for years.
Right.
And when we bought our new house, I had one reptile room, and I keep it heated. I went from keeping cobras in the bedroom and taipans in the kitchen, and to okay, everything's going in one room. And I started out. I put him next to a wild caught like Western Diamondback rattlesnake. I just put him right next to the cage for like a month or two, and nothing happened. And so eventually I just moved him into the collection like no big deal. And yeah, I've never had an issue since. I mean, all the babies I produced last year were from him and the female, and she's fine. And he's been chasing the female around a little bit, so I moved him in with the gaboons and the rhinos to see if maybe he would, of course, the hybridization is, incredibly rare, but just by the off chance something happened, I put him in there. But yeah, I haven't had a problem with him since. But yeah, he literally, there were 3 other animals in the cage with him, and they all died in 10 days. And he just was like, he just kind of brushed it off, I guess. I don't know. Just too mean to die. I don't know.
What a dick move. Fucking kills like 20, lives it. Now, this is what, 2016 or something like that? When was this that happened?
Yeah, I'm not real good with dates. I've had a lot of concussions, but yeah, probably around that, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember it happened shortly after I was just started, or shortly before I just started following you, because you mentioned it in a poster, something like that. I don't know. You talking about it. Because I do want to say, man, if you guys don't follow Seth, which his link will be in the description below, but a lot of your posts, Seth, are so like thorough, like they're educational, man. Like you go into depth about things, and it's not, it's more than just somebody posting snakes to me. And I love, it's like a solid read every time I see your post, and I love it. So, I've
been doing educational programs since I was in high school. We would do educational programs, and to me, it's like, no offense to anybody who keeps snakes. You know, obviously, I follow like 3,000 people on Instagram. 99% of them are snake keepers, but it's just like ball python, retail, and 99% of the venomous guys, it's like gaboon. And I just like, I don't get much from looking at a picture of a snake and just saying gaboon. Oh, okay, thanks. So to me,
no shit.
So to me, I'm like, if I keep these animals, I want them to be, representatives of their wild counterparts, and I want people to be intrigued and interested, because I just have this passion for them, and I feel like the only way that you can really spread that is information. This isn't a monster; it's a snake. And here's some evolutionary biology and things like fossil record, things like that. So I try to do a lot of where they came from, millions of years to now, and any information that I find, cool studies. So yeah, I really, really hate posting, here's one of my snakes, enjoy.
Oh yeah, right.
It doesn't do much for me.
It's all behavioral stuff. Like you're always showing like the interaction that you have with the animal. Because I was also going through your post, and you don't have too many pics. It's all videos. It's all actual like videos of you doing stuff, which is hands-on, right? So it's so sick.
Well, and it kind of goes into it too. Same thing. I don't get a whole lot from a picture. Yeah, you can zoom in on it, and the scales are beautiful.
Right.
Maybe we could talk about scales a little bit, and how they evolve. But when I walk through my reptile room, no matter what happens, you walk in there, something is going on.
Right.
And even the most basic behavior, it's drinking water. Okay, most people have never seen a snake drink water. They've seen a picture of a snake, but they haven't seen it drink water. They haven't seen it rooting around under something, so yeah, I really prefer videos, because I think you get a lot more from them. And obviously I put music, because otherwise it's just my heavy breathing.
Yeah, dude, you're carrying some serious weight, bro. Like, I mean, and we're not talking fat either. We're talking that muscle weighs more than fat, bro.
Well, yeah, and I tell people all the time, your body doesn't know the difference between muscle and fat.
Right.
In fact, muscle is harder on your body than fat. Fat is avascular, so it's much harder on your heart to push through 250 pounds of muscle than it would be fat. So yeah, the heavy breathing. I remember I posted a video one time, and I didn't mute it, and I didn't put any music. Right. And Unconventional Menagerie, you follow those guys? They're out of Europe somewhere. I love those guys. They give me such a hard time. He said something like, the heavy breathing is great. And it was like, wow. I just, never again, always.
I self-conscious all the time. No, I breathe heavy in my fucking videos, but I just think, I'm like, I'm not the only heavy fucking breather out there. So people my fucking ass. People just breathe heavy. I just breathe. I just breathe heavy sometimes. I don't know what it is though. But I feel you, dude. my wife asked me, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." She's like, "Well, you're breathing heavy." I'm like, I'm just here. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't even realize. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm breathing heavy. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You and your wife, man, what a fucking awesome team. I will say, I don't want to say I pity the people, but I've had